cracks.
Goodness.
That was a big blood pouring out of Juliana's head.
Is Amanda willing to roll to finish it tonight?
Behind every highlight reel lives a fighter who did not ask for permission to rewrite the rules. These moments were not born from trash talk or hype, but from silence, discipline, and the willingness to step into chaos when the world was watching. Women's MMA did not arrive gently. It arrived with cracked guards, sudden collapses, and endings so violent they forced history to stop and take notes. These finishes were not just wins on a record. They were statements that echoed through the cage, warnings delivered with precision and power, reminders that greatness does not always announce itself before it strikes. The cage has always been a place where composure matters more than noise, and few embodied that truth better than Valentina Chevchenko. Cold, calculated, and relentlessly exact, she entered her 2019 title defense with the posture of a surgeon. What followed was a moment so clean it felt unreal. One step, one perfectly timed head kick, and everything changed in a flash. Jessica never saw it coming. The audience barely processed it before the fight was over. There was no scramble, no follow-up chaos, just the unmistakable image of control meeting destruction. In a sport built on attrition, that kind of ending felt surgical, almost cruel in its efficiency, and it cemented Shevchenko's reputation as one of the most technically lethal fighters the division has ever known. Anticipation can be dangerous, and nowhere was that more evident than when Amanda Nunes stepped into the cage against the reigning featherweight champion. The build-up promised a war. What unfolded instead was a demolition. From the opening bell, Nunes moved with intention, every punch thrown with bad intentions behind it. In less than a minute, the champion fell, overwhelmed by a barrage that left no room for doubt. 51 seconds was all it took to change the landscape of women's MMA forever. The moment was not just shocking, it was definitive. A double champion was crowned, and with it came the realization that raw power, when paired with evolved technique, can end legacies before they ever have a chance to adjust. Sometimes the loudest moments come from the calmest fighters. Rose Namajunas walked into her title opportunity without theatrics, carrying herself with a quiet confidence that many mistook for fragility. What followed was anything but. In a striking exchange that demanded perfect timing, Rose found her opening. One clean shot turned disbelief into shock, and shock into silence. The crown changed hands in an instant, and a new star was born. It was not brute force that defined the moment, but precision, patience, and the courage to trust instinct under pressure. That night, Rose proved that technique, when sharpened to its edge, can cut through even the most imposing opponents. History does not wait, and sometimes it explodes into existence. When Zhang Weili fought in front of her home crowd, the weight of expectation could have crushed anyone else. Instead, it fueled something ferocious. Less than a minute into the first round, she unleashed a storm so fast and so violent that there was no chance to respond. Each strike landed with purpose, and the finish arrived before the world could fully register what was happening. China had its first UFC champion, and the path to that moment was paved with relentless offense and unshakable resolve. It was not just a victory for one fighter, but a defining moment for an entire nation. Not all highlights are planned. Some arrive from chaos, raw instinct cutting through exhaustion. Molly McCann's spinning elbow was one of those moments, the kind that feels like it belongs in a movie more than a cage. Out of nowhere, the strike landed, and the arena erupted. The O2 transformed into a roar of disbelief and celebration. Grit met opportunity, and opportunity turned into a moment that would live forever. These are the finishes that remind fans why unpredictability is the sport's heartbeat. Then there was the kick that ended an era. Holly Holm did not just defeat Ronda Rousey, she dismantled the aura that had surrounded her. With flawless footwork and perfect timing, Holm delivered a head kick so precise it felt inevitable in hindsight. Rousey fell face first, and the reign of the most dominant champion the division had ever seen ended in an instant. It was a reminder that dominance has an expiration date, and that evolution is not optional in a sport that never stops moving forward. Revenge, when executed correctly, becomes art. After a shocking first loss, Amanda Nunes returned sharper, stronger, and visibly transformed. The rematch was not about survival, it was about control. Each knockdown carried a message. This was not the same fighter who had faltered before. This was evolution on display, a masterclass in striking dominance that ended with blood on the canvas and no questions left unanswered. It was not one moment that defined the fight, but a sequence of calculated punishment that reaffirmed her place as the greatest of all time. As devastating as knockouts are, submissions tell a different story. They are slower, more intimate, and often more merciless. Ronda Rousey introduced the world to that reality when she ripped through opponents with her armbar. In the first women's fight in UFC history, she forced a tap and ignited an era that reshaped the sport. Technique met inevitability, and resistance became irrelevant. That legacy echoed through every grappling exchange that followed. Jessica Andrade added her own chapter with a rare standing arm triangle, a display of strength and precision that forced a tap in a way few had ever seen. Tatiana Suarez reminded the division of her dominance with a suffocating guillotine after a long absence, proving that elite grappling never fades. Mayra Bueno Silva continued the tradition with relentless submission threats, twisting and trapping opponents until escape became impossible. These moments were not explosions, but slow suffocations, battles of will that ended when there was nothing left to give. From lightning-fast knockouts to jaws locked in submissions, the women of the UFC have proven time and time again that they do not simply compete, they finish. These moments did not just entertain, they redefined what is possible inside the cage and forced the world to recognize the queens of combat for what they truly are. If this journey through violence, precision, and history kept you locked in, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more deep dives into the moments that shape the fight game, and share your thoughts below. Which finish hit you the hardest? And which moment deserves its own place in history?